Welcome back to Transcriber from Reddit. Today's topic comes from the news organization Current Revolt and their Substack article titled Steven Crowder's Divorce Trial, parentheses, 9/19, end parentheses. Yes, you heard that correctly. This is an update on Steven Crowder's divorce trial as of the proceedings that occurred on September 19th of this year. Below the title reads, Rage at Media, Houses, and Gig Orders. Posted by Current Revolt on September 19th, 2023. Below that is an image. As we face the image, we see a semi-muscular brunette lady staring at us in a black tank top. Lower half of her body is not seen, and her arms are crossed. Above her head are the words, Star, not really Michelle May O'Neill. Star. Next to her, to our, as the viewer, right, is Steven Crowder. Well, an altered version of Steven Crowder. His head appears to have been narrowed just above the tips of his ears, as there appears to be indentations above his eyebrows. The brown hair, the dorky glasses, the just shaved look, and the tight, I would call it a teal shirt, with the words Louder with Crowder on the left breast, pretty much indicate that this is meant to be Steven Crowder. Below the image reads, This isn't really Steven Crowder or his lawyer, but we don't want to get DMCA'd. I do not blame you. Sadly, like most free speech advocates, Steven Crowder is a rules for thee but not for me, and apparently, and somewhat allegedly from what I've been hearing, is okay with DMCA striking people who talk about him. Not, I would argue it's not negative, it's just facts. When you're stating the fact that someone else brought up of them divorcing their wife, you would expect that that fact would indeed be recognized as a fact. However, Steven seems to think that that portrays him in a negative light, and therefore that can't be had. So therefore he must strike you. The free speech advocate strikes out in pain as he DMCA's you. That has now become Steven Crowder. Now, on to the article. This is part 2 of our coverage of the Steven Crowder divorce trial. The first question we're always asked when covering this trial is, quote, why cover this? End quote. Despite what Crowder's lawyer, Michelle May O'Neill, says, we're not in the business of providing Hillary Crowder cover. We simply started this news coverage to provide star another voice, star, because at the time it was only Steven who had a platform to voluntarily discuss his divorce publicly. For our previous coverage, where Steven's lawyer falsely accused us of recording the hearing and had our phone confiscated by the court, click here. Below that is a link to their first article titled Steven Crowder's Divorce Trial, posted back on June 23rd of this year. I continue reading. The following will contain our notes from the trial in a relatively rough format to the best of our recollection. Because it is illegal to record court proceedings, we only use handwritten notes. The judge mentioned several times that, and this is in bold, even the court reporter, end bold, struggles to properly transcribe the proceedings due to both lawyers speaking over each other. Similar to before, there's a lot of notes. We're highlighting portions we deem interesting. Next section. Court proceedings occurred in Denton County's 16th District around 9 a.m. on September 19th, 2023, formatted as 9/19/23. This divorce centers around Stephen Crowder seeking, this is in bold, full custody, and bold, of the couple's children. Hillary Crowder, his wife, is requesting joint custody. First bullet point. Judge notes several motions have been filed relating to receivership, compelling a witness, confidentiality agreements, excluding evidence, gag order, cell phone imaging, and discovery. In total, 7 different items. Point 2. This is in bold. The judge also notes that there are 2 notebooks containing 21,000 documents/texts to review. End bold. Side note, I can't believe that would be that 2 notebooks containing that many documents and texts would be in a divorce trial. But maybe this is more common than I think. Continue reading. Point number 3. The first discussion is regarding the motions surrounding compelling witnesses and discovery. A friend of Hillary is named as a, quote, co-conspirator, end quote, by Stephen's lawyer. Another subpoint. This is in bold. Stephen's lawyer alleges a cabal of friends and family of Hillary are conspiring to demean Crowder and intentionally release information to the media. They also accuse Hillary of inviting the media to the hearing. End bold. Next subpoint. Hillary's lawyer denies these claims. Next subpoint. Several people are scheduled for depositions across the country. This is in italics. Editor's note. This divorce seems to be getting very expensive. End italics. Side note. I agree. For someone who seems to have accepted that this was going to happen, Stephen is being very, very, how shall I put this, abrasive with it. It almost seems like he doesn't want to give this fight up. I wonder why, considering he was the one who wanted the divorce in the first place. Point number 4. The issue regarding 21,000 documents/texts is brought up. This is pretty convoluted, but essentially Crowder's legal team did a forensic image of Hillary's phone, and because of this, was able to access some attorney-client privileged texts/emails. Subpoint. Hillary's team is upset about Crowder having full access to the phone data without limiting any health or attorney-client privileged data. Crowder's team insists they did not look at anything they weren't supposed to and set that sensitive information aside. Point number 5. A discussion is had, and Crowder's team requests that a forensic image be taken of Hillary's current is in bold, phone. They want that phone image taken today. Subpoint. The forensic phone image expert/private investigator is brought in. He states that he doesn't have the ability to make a copy of her phone today. Below that is another point where the investigator, quote, he states that in order to image the phone, he needs to make a full as in bold, copy and is unable to remove specific items or criteria. He makes the copy first, then he can provide the data, minus the excluded/private information. Next subpoint. The judge requests that Hillary's team submit a list of items that should be excluded from the image and that Hillary turn her phone over for a full image copy at another date. Next subpoint. This is in bold. The judge orders a, quote, discovery master, end quote, to review the original 21,000 texts/data from Hillary's first phone and then the next tens of thousands of texts from her current phone. Notes that this could take a very long time and says the discovery master is to be another judge and that he needs to be compensated. Subpoint to that subpoint, in italics, editor's note. This divorce is probably crazy expensive. Yes, it sounds that way, doesn't it? I continue reading. Point number 6. The next discussion is regarding the desire for Stephen to sell the vacation home. The judge previously ruled that the vacation home, not is in bold, not is all capitalized, be sold. Subpoint. Stephen's team notes that the home is owned by a trust. Subpoint to that subpoint. This trust consists of Stephen Crowder, Hillary Crowder, and this is in all bold. Louder with Crowder CEO Gerald Morgan, end bold. Side note, I wonder why Gerald Morgan would be on this trust. Next subpoint. Hillary's team claims that the trust has already taken action to start the sale of the home and has a realtor agreement. Next subpoint. In bold, Crowder's team alleges that someone has been using the home when both Hillary and Stephen have not been there. End bold. Subpoint to that subpoint, Hillary's team does not deny this. Next subpoint, Hillary's team notes that in the 2 years since the house has been shared between Hillary and Stephen, that Stephen has never visited the house. The judge essentially says the point is irrelevant and rules that nobody can use the house except if one of the parties is present. Next subpoint. Hillary's team asks the judge to order Stephen, this is in bold, not, end bold, to sell the house. Stephen's team states that the trust isn't part of the suit, and Stephen and Gerald Morgan are in their right to act as trustees. Side note, don't you need all trustees to agree to sell the home if her name is on it as well? Maybe that's a dumb question, but I would appreciate if someone who has an idea of the answer to let me know in the comments down below. Next subpoint. The judge denies the motion to sell the home, quote, to the extent, end quote, she can. Point number 7. The final and most important discussion was over the gag order previously put in place to prevent both parties from discussing the divorce. Subpoint. In bold, Stephen's team wants the gag order lifted. Stephen's lawyer calls out Current Revolt and Tony Ortiz multiple times, as well as points to us stating that we have published and admitted we are taking Hillary's side, end bold. In italics, editor's note. We aren't taking sides. It just so happens that Stephen looks horrible in these proceedings and continues to make himself look bad with his very public statements and dating contests. Next subpoint, also in bold. Hillary's team alleges that Stephen was involved in leaking a Dropbox link containing court documents on a website and that Louder with Crowder CEO Gerald Morgan had employees tweet out the links, end bold. Next subpoint. Stephen's team says there is no link to Stephen and the Dropbox leak, and that the jury pool for the future jury trial is being tainted by the media. Next subpoint. In bold, Hillary's team reminds the judge that it was Stephen who chose to make his divorce public and cites a YouTube video that has 407,000 views where Stephen violates the gag order. That hour-long video can be viewed here. End bold. There, they clip a screenshot of the Louder with Crowder episode where, in italics below the video link, it says, Stephen discusses the divorce in a video, announces a, quote, win a date with Stephen Crowder, end quote, sweepstakes. He states tasteful erotica, quote, is tolerated, end quote. Subpoint, in italics, editor's note. The children have to one day view the video of their father propositioning random women on the internet to send, quote, tasteful erotica, end quote, to their father during divorce proceedings with their mother, end italics. Side note, I agree, and with a heavy heart. Those poor children. I'm glad they're twins so that hopefully they will at least have a good relationship with one another, if not also with their mother. Continue reading. Next subpoint. Stephen's lawyer provides a copy of the first Current Revolt article, where we covered the divorce hearing to the judge, seemingly alleging that we are part of a planned scheme with the Hillary family. Stephen's lawyer states they want the gag order lifted because Stephen should be allowed a, quote, media strategy, end quote, and that Current Revolt is tainting the jury pool with the news articles. Next subpoint. This is in bold. Hillary's lawyer notates that the Current Revolt article only had 10 likes and 1 comment. Parentheses, italics, editor's note, ouch, and parentheses and italics. Hardly worth being concerned about, especially compared to Crowder's recent video broadcasted to his 5.81 million subscribers and viewed 407,000 times. End bold. In italics, editor's note. For the record, the original Crowder article is relatively on par with the average viewership of our popular articles and only received 18,000 views. Hardly able to compete with Stephen Crowder's 407,000 views. We appreciate Stephen's lawyer thinking we are much bigger than we actually are. Below that is a screenshot showing a screenshot of the Stephen Crowder's divorce trial article, showing that at the time of the screenshot, 34% had opened the email, it had 18,000 views, and there were at least 62 new subs since then. Below that is the description reading, our metrics for the original Crowder article, 18,000 views. Next subpoint, in italics, editor's note. Stephen is complaining about some alleged coordinated media strategy. We wonder where all of Stephen's media friends are. He's been in the media business much longer than us, and is presumably much more connected than we are. Where are all of Stephen's media friends to defend him? Next subpoint, in bold. The judge ordered that the gag order stand. End bold. Next subpoint. The judge said she plans to deal with the gag order violation by Stephen when he is next in court. Next subpoint. A jury trial date was set for next year. That's it for our coverage. The judge ordered mediation. We sincerely hope and pray that both parties can resolve their differences and arguments in mediation and hopefully move past this for the sake of the children. The only ones seemingly winning here are the lawyers and their bank accounts. Next section. Update. Update is all capitalized. We'll note that a media person did, that word is in italics, come out to defend Stephen, manosphere provocateur and amateur journalist, parentheses, question mark, and parentheses, Pearl Davis. Pearl published a video where she streamed the, quote, leaked, end quote, Dropbox documents, as well as a video testimony of the nanny who was employed by the Crowder family. Pearl ended up revealing the names of both the children and the nanny's home address when she failed to bleep out the private information during the nanny's testimony. Below that is a screenshot of Pearl doing that during her live stream, not showing the leaked documents, thankfully, but just showing Pearl's live stream with the caption, disaster. Yes, that is. Continue reading. Pearl did not state who her source was for the, quote, leaked, end quote, testimony and court documents, but denied that it was Stephen or his legal team. Pearl is well known on the internet for saying incredibly bombastic and stupid things in order to garner attention. She once published a video of herself singing a song about Jewish people and Hitler. I'm not going to play it here, but there is a linked video with her talking about that below that. Continue reading. When Ortiz called out Pearl for doxing the Crowder children and the nanny, she proceeded to block him. Below is a screenshot showing that, yes, H. Pearl Davis at Pearly Things blocked Tony. Here it reads, at Pearly Things blocked you. You are blocked from following at Pearly Things and viewing at Pearly Things posts. Well, thank you for that screenshot for confirmation. Womp womp. Well, that article read is it for today, friends. Please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, leaving a comment down below, and sending out some support to Hillary and the twins in whatever shape or form that may take as they face a long and drawn-out divorce trial ahead of them. The poor children, they do not deserve this, especially not to get doxxed. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Bye.